of grass. He couldn't even get a blade of grass to go like that. And he could not, and he was trying with all his might, with the same powers that destroy the universe, he couldn't separate a single leaf from a tree. He couldn't even move a leaf to go like this. And all the thunderbolts that he was personally, his Vajra, his thunderbolt, there are many prayers in the Vedic literatures about the power of Indra's thunderbolt. It's the analogy of the ultimate power of this world. He was continuously throwing his strongest thunderbolts on Govardhan, trying to get him to move. But because Krishna's little finger was underneath Giriraj, how much space does that occupy under this mountain? Because of Krishna's little finger. Krishna! Giriraj, Gopal, he was infusing through his fingers so much love that love went through his finger right into Giriraj, the mountain, and totally permeated him in the ecstasy. He was just being filled, nourished with Krishna's grace. And he was in so much ecstasy that he didn't even notice that thunderbolts were crashing against him. Vishayavani vartante niraharasya dehina rasavarajamrasopasya param drisvani vartate. This is a very, very exalted example that the things that disturb us, temptations, aversions, attractions in this world, they become insignificant when we experience the higher taste of bhakti, of love for Krishna, compassion for others. Govardhan was tasting Krishna's love. The experience of pleasing Krishna and feeling Krishna's pleasure through that little finger was so all-pervading within his heart that when he did feel the thunderbolts crashing against him, it felt just like soft, fragrant flower petals falling upon him. When Krishna wants to humble his devotee, how expert and thorough he could be. 7 days and 7 nights. According to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, once while Krishna was reciprocating with his devotees, Sri Radharani glanced upon him with such affection, and he was so attracted by her Mahabhav, her love, that he began to perspire, his hair stood on end, and he trembled. And when he trembled, Giriraj started to vibrate. And all the gopas, the Vatsalya Bhav gopas, they were thinking, our little Krishna's tired. He can't do it anymore. It's too much for him. So they all got sticks and put it under the hill, and they were thinking that they were actually holding it up. And Madhu Mangal and some of the Sakas, they said to their parent Gopas, that, "What are you doing?" Said, "Your sticks are just scratching the bottom of Govardhan Hill." Our Gopal, he is the brother of Balaram. And Balaram takes great pleasure in heroic deeds of strength. He doesn't need our help. And the Braj Gopis, they were whispering among each other, the young Gopis, that actually we know the secret of how Govardhan Hill is remaining on Krishna's finger. As Srimati Radharani, her Mahabhav, her pure love is so dear to Krishna that through her glance she is empowering Krishna to hold Govardhan Hill. And as they were thinking of this, and Sri Krishna could understand their hearts, Srimati Radharani showered a glance of affection upon him and a smile that completely satisfied his heart. When Indra saw, he couldn't even have the slightest effect on anybody. The Samvataka clouds, they strained and struggled with all their energies, and all the winds were blowing and blowing constantly. After 7 days, they were totally exhausted. They all fell at Indra's feet and begged, "We are defeated. Let us go somewhere else. We can't continue." And Indra was so outraged, he himself charged with all his strength, all alone. Nothing he could do. And finally he became sober. And he realized who Krishna is. He's not just a little talkative 7-year-old ordinary boy. He's the absolute truth, Parabrahman. He's my master. Whatever strength and power I have is only coming through him. And I tried to destroy him and his whole community. In total shame, he left. All the clouds dispersed, the sky was clear, and the sun came out. And when Krishna saw it, he was still smiling. He never stopped smiling. He said, "Oh, my beloved family, Brijabasis, now the rain has stopped and the sun has come through the clouds. Everyone now go back to your respective homes." Nobody wanted to leave, but it was Krishna's will. So the cowherd men and the cowherd ladies were leaving. And the cows, they were trying to herd the cows out. But the cows were so attached. They didn't even have to eat. The calves, they would look at the beautiful form of Giridhari and tears would flow from their mouths, and they didn't even have to drink their mother's milk. That darshan was nourishing everyone's hearts. As they were being herded outside from underneath Giriraj, all the cows, they were outside, they all ran back in to be with Krishna. They couldn't give up his association. And Krishna, as he was lifting Giriraj, with his eyes, he moved his eyes in such a way to herd all the cows out from underneath Govardhan Hill. And when everybody was outside and had returned to their homes, Shri Giridhari very carefully placed Govardhan Hill on the ground exactly as it was before he lifted him. And then he returned to his home. The next day, the cowherd men, they all assembled together to meet with Nanda Maharaj because they had some questions. They asked Nanda Maharaj, "Your Krishna is wonderful. On one side there's Govardhan Hill, this enormous mountain, and on the other side there's a little 7-year-old boy whose body is so soft and tender, who cries for his mother's milk, and he's lifting for 7 days effortlessly. How is this possible? This is not the first time we have seen." Just days after Krishna's birth in Gokul Mahavan, the Rakshashi Putana, she came to murder Krishna. And little baby infant Krishna just sucked not only the milk from her breast, but sucked her life out from her. How wonderful. When he was only 3 months old, that gigantic cart filled with so many utensils, with his tiny little lotus-like soft foot, he touched the wheel and he destroyed it and liberated the Sakatasura, that ghostly demon. And he was just a baby at 1 year old. Trinavarta picked him up after making a very devastating windstorm and brought him high into the sky. And Krishna became so heavy and held on to Trinavarta and squeezed his neck so tight, even though just a little baby, that Trinavarta choked and fell. When he was just a little boy, he showed the universe through the mouth of Yashoda. Through his mouth he showed. And then after being bound by Mother Yashoda, he pulled the grinding mortar and ripped down those enormous Arjuna trees. And we were thinking, Gokul is a very dangerous place. Let us move to the Vrindavan forest. In Vrindavan, Vatsasura, this cruel, evil mystic, took the form of a calf to kill Krishna. And little Krishna took him by the hind legs, swirled him around, and threw him to the top of a kapita tree, where there were nice kapita fruits. And then Bakasura, the most envious and evil of all the asuras, he appeared as a mountainous crane. And your little boy effortlessly opened his mouth and opened it so much that the demon couldn't live. And then Kalia Kalia, an enormous serpent with so many poisonous hoods. And Krishna danced on his hoods. And ultimately, Kalia surrendered and became his devotee. And Pralambasura, he disguised himself as a little cowherd boy. And along with Balaram, he liberated him. And then there was that raging forest fire. After liberating and giving pure devotional service to Kalia, we all slept on the bank of the Yamuna that night in the forest. The fire was so engulfing that the flames were reaching the stars. On all four sides, we were surrounded by a thick wall of solid flames. And they were getting closer and closer. And when we turned to your Gopal, with one little tiny inhalation, he swallowed the forest fire. And today, Indra sent storms of devastation. And Krishna, smiling, effortlessly lifted the mountain of Govardhan to give us shelter. Wonderful, wonderful Krishna. Who is Krishna? How does he do this? But most of all, the cowherd men said to Nanda, Krishna he attracts our hearts so thoroughly that 24 hours a day we could only think of Krishna, intoxicated with love for Krishna. We are so attracted to Krishna. And Krishna is equally attracted to us. Please tell us. What is the mystery of Krishna? Nanda Maharaj smiled. He said, during Krishna's name-giving ceremony, Vasudev, my dear loving friend, sent Garga Muni to perform the ritual. At that time, he told me a secret. He said that this child, Krishna, he has many names. He has appeared in this world many times to protect his devotees, to annihilate the miscreants, to reestablish true spiritual principles. He has appeared in a white form in Satya Yuga. He has appeared in a red form to establish the Yuga Dharma in the Treta Yuga. And he will appear in a golden form in the Kali Yuga. In Satya Yuga, he establishes the Yuga Dharma, the recommended method of self-realization, which is silent meditation. In Treta Yuga, through performance of yajna, or elaborate, precise sacrifices. And in Kali Yuga, he appears in a beautiful golden form to establish the Yuga Dharma of Harinam Sankirtan. Kalero dosanide rajan astiheko mahaguna kirtanat eva krishnasya mukta sangha param brajet. In this age of Kali, which is an ocean of faults, there is one benediction. That anyone, whoever we are, whatever we have done, whatever we have not done in the past, if we take shelter in the association of sincere and pure devotees, and with a humble heart, chant the holy names, we will attain the perfection of liberation. And now in this Dwapar Yuga, he has appeared in this very beautiful, dark, bluish form, like a monsoon cloud, like a tamal tree. Citing from the Acharyas, I'm elaborating on what Garga Muni said. But Garga Muni said that this Krishna, he will be the object of the love and the affection of all the residents of Gokul. And he will protect you from the greatest dangers. Because the power of Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will manifest through Krishna. Please be very careful to take care of him. Nanda Maharaj explained this to the cowherd men. Even though they understood that the power of Lord Narayan was there to protect them through Krishna, still, their love and intimacy, madhurya bhav, was so sweet that they were always worried about Krishna's welfare. Even after the gopis saw Krishna lift Govardhan Hill, still, when he would be in the pasturing grounds with his bare feet, they would cry, thinking his feet are so soft, softer than the softest part of any of our bodies. When they're just touched, they change colors, different shades of pink. And he may step on a pebble. Just the thought that Krishna's delicate foot could step on a petal was causing pain to their heart. It was the ecstasy of the pain of love. Every day when Krishna would go out to the pastures, Nanda and Yashoda would go, they would follow him. They couldn't bear giving up his separation, and they couldn't bear the thoughts that in the pastures today there may be a hot sun that could inconvenience him. There may be a thorn or a pebble on the ground, or he may get hungry. They wanted to go with him. This is the love. When Nanda Maharaj told the story of Garga Muni, everyone smiled. They were satisfied. Wonderful Krishna. Meanwhile, Indra could not sleep at night. Actually, as far as sleeping at night, the night when all those cowherd men, during the day when they met Nanda Maharaj, that night, it is explained by one of our acharyas that Krishna, Sri Radha and the gopis, the way they were gazing with such prem, such love at Krishna under Govardhan Hill, he couldn't forget it. So much he wanted to reciprocate. That night, he slept outside under the stairs on a terrace. He couldn't sleep that night. He didn't want to sleep that night. He was totally immersed in his heart of hearts, remembering the love of Sri Radha and the gopis. And under the stars, he played his flute all night long. And that flute song, it only went where he wanted it to go. It went exclusively through the ears into the hearts of the gopis, where they could feel Krishna was playing just for them throughout the night. For the Brijabasis, this was the most blissful festival. But Indra was humiliated and humbled to such a point that he was ashamed. What am I going to do now? This was quite an aparad. It's one thing to accidentally touch a person with your feet, or to accidentally walk over a scripture that may be, on the floor or something. But he deliberately tried to destroy all Krishna's loving devotees. Aghasura tried to destroy them all, but he was a demon. Indra's a great devotee. He was sleepless. His guru, Brihaspati, approached him. And Indra was desperate, totally helpless. He asked his guru, please give me instruction. Brihaspati said, Indra, you are an arrogant, puffed up fool. That's all. What else could he say? Because you have so much wealth and so much power, you became so intoxicated. Look at what you've done. The very person who gives you everything you have, you tried to destroy? There's nothing you could do. It's beyond me. The only recourse is you should go to Lord Brahma and ask his opinion. Indra went to Brahmaloka, and he approached Lord Brahma, and his head was down. He was seriously depressed. But the greatest way to come out of depression is go to self-realized souls and get a spiritual solution. Brahma said, Indra, you are an arrogant fool. There's nothing I can do for you. It's quite hopeless. But Brahma said, but there's one thing you could do. No matter what offense you have made, if you go to a dear devotee of the Lord, and that loving, humble, dear devotee prays to Krishna on your behalf to be forgiven, then Krishna will hear your prayer. Otherwise, you cannot approach Krishna directly, not after what you have done. But Krishna loves the cows, and the cows love Krishna. There is a material planet in this universe called Goloka, and there resides Surabhi, who is the mother of the cows. Approach her to appeal to Krishna to forgive you, and he will forgive you. Here is the royal, majestic king of the heavens, Indra, approaching a cow, a mother, simple cow. and with tears. And Indra has a lot of eyes, so when he cries, it's quite a scene, actually. It's quite expressive. He prays to Surabhi, please help me. And because of her motherly nature, she's not judgmental. She's not philosophically scrutinizing what type of karma he's meant to get. She's just feeling compassion to him. She said, yes, let us go to Vrindavan. And they come. And where is today Surabhi Kund? That is the place that Surabhi the cow approached Krishna. Krishna wanted to give his mercy to Indra. And he wanted to do it in such a way that would not humiliate him anymore. You see, all the humiliation that Indra went through, that's what he needed, but he didn't need any more. So Krishna was so sensitive, so caring, that in the guise of going to just look at all the various parts of Vrindavan to see how everything was after the storms, he went to a secluded place all alone so that Indra could meet him in privacy. It was there at Surabhi Kund that Surabhi, the mother cow, approached Gopal. And she said, Indra is very sad, and he is sincerely repentant. Please show him your kindness. Krishna could not refuse the appeal of that motherly cow. And with Surabhi's indication, Indra directly approached Krishna. He fell in his dandavats, in his prostrated obeisance, and placed his golden jeweled crown on Krishna's little bare lotus feet. And he cried and cried. Krishna lifted him up. Indra, from his heart, he begged forgiveness. Krishna is the Paramatma in our heart. He knows our intention, and he reciprocates according to our intention. Indra was genuine and sincere. He realized his mistake. He was surrendering his life to Krishna. He offered beautiful prayers. And in those prayers he expressed how Krishna is so kind. Because of his intoxication with his power, his prestige, his position, his wealth, he became arrogant. And the nature of arrogance is we start comparing ourselves to others. We start thinking that I have the right to judge others. We start to feel fear that someone else may usurp what I'm getting gratification of having. And we become corrupted. Indra, in his prayer, said, Krishna, because you saw that I was diseased with this arrogance, you gave the perfect medicine. crush my pride into the finest powder and then throw it away. I only want to be your servant and serve you with love. Krishna was very pleased with Indra. And he spoke to Indra, yes, you were too puffed up. And Krishna explained to Indra the nature of pure devotional service and blessed him. It's interesting. Kaliya, he also tried to destroy Krishna. He killed all Krishna's friends. He created so much poison in that lake near the Yamuna that the cowherd boys and the little calves, they all died because of the poison. And all the trees of the forest of Vrindavan in that area died. By Krishna's nectarine glance, he brought all the calves and the cows and the boys back to life. And then Kaliya tried to kill Krishna. He bit Krishna. Krishna just allowed himself to be bound up by his coils for a long time, and then he slipped out and danced on Kaliya's head and danced, and all Kaliya's wives and children and all the other serpents and everybody else was watching as this little boy was dancing and smiling and playing and killing, crushing every one of his head one by one. And when Kaliya was completely crushed and humbled, at that point, the Nagapatnis, his wives, they appeared and they prayed to Krishna, please give him pure devotional service. It was because the Nagapatnis prayed on his behalf, they were great devotees, that Krishna gave pure bhakti to Kaliya. In the same way, Surabhi, that motherly cow, we talked about the Yagyapatnis. The wives of those Brahmins, they were not big gurus. They had no big high position in society. They were not learned scholars. They did not go through gurukulas and great austerities. But by their prayers and example, their husbands too were delivered. One time, Srila Prabhupada was asked, what was our qualification to be given entrance into the path of pure devotional service? As the servants of the servants of the servants of Sri Radharani in the bhakti of Vrindavan. What was our qualification? Some of those devotees were hippies. What is a hippie? There's a beautiful film, I think Yadubar Prabhu and Vishaka Devi made the film, where a reporter asked Prabhupada, can you show me some mystic powers? And Prabhupada said, my power is I have made hippies into happies. And they said, could you tell me what is a hippie? And Prabhupada said, you know better than me. But then he answered the question from the perspective of somebody who was living in Vrindavan, living in the highest culture of devotion and spiritual morality, ethics, and love. Prabhupada said, a hippie is something extraordinary. Now, there's all different kinds of hippies. But some of them that were coming to Prabhupada, they had no faith in God. Some of them were eating all kinds of anything, even animals, taking intoxications, having sexual relations without any type of spiritual relationship, anytime, anywhere. Some of them never even took bath. Never heard of Krishna. And now they're devotees, living by very high levels of pure morality, ethics, and dedicating their lives to the loving service of Krishna. Following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan, studying Srimad Bhagavatam every morning, chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, which is descended from Goloka Vrindavan, coming on pilgrimage to Vrindavan to bathe in the dust of this holy place and in the Yamuna and all the kunds and the lakes, and offering prayers under the Kalpabriksha trees. What was our qualification? And Srila Prabhupada, very humble, but very honest, he answered. We should all listen very carefully to his answer. He said, because whether you're a hippie from San Francisco, or whether you're a housewife or a business person from Bombay or a student from IIT, there is not much difference. Prabhupada said, you had no qualifications. I made your qualifications. We should never forget that. It was his willingness to leave Vrindavan without any assistance whatsoever, without anyone to help. And to cross continents and oceans on a cargo ship. In Srila Prabhupada's purports of the 10th canto, the Brahma Vimohan Leela, he explains when he was on that little Jaladuta, going across the Atlantic Ocean, he said he felt the Jaladuta to be like a little vulnerable matchbox floating in the ocean. Not long ago, I was in America and I gave a lecture, and after the lecture I went to somebody's house,